Hey all, Bad Girl Mystic here with another episode in the series The Coloring Connection. And what we talk about here is healing trauma with coloring and SheCraft. And what I mean by SheCraft is designing a healing program that is specific to the female energetic nervous system and using that she magic, that feelings we get in our heart and emotion and what is important to us, and moving that all through a practice. So through the ages, that practice has included healing for women with herbs and teas and visualizations and nature and color and the elements and all that wonderful, amazing stuff, and music and dancing. And sadly, many witches were burned and persecuted. And that's how witches went from being wise women to being wicked, wicked, bad girl women. And I love this past year, I embarked on the spiritual path of embracing my female spirituality and began studying this practice that has lived throughout the ages and has been pushed underground for women's survival and now has had this renaissance. And I am proudly calling myself a witch. So part of embracing a spiritual path and witchcraft was wanting to build inner power as well as wanting to build outer power with my physical body. So I say that trauma has affected me in terms of it's just drained all my fucking chi out of my body. And I am, as well as rebuilding strength and stability in how I physically move through the world, I'm also taking a deep dive into my own emotional shadows and rebuilding my beliefs and values from feeling that I was weak inside. And so one of the wonderful things I have found in this world and on this wonderful playground in the ethers of the internet is Amy Cesari's Coloring Book of Shadows. And this is pure magic. And I know it's not just me because I'm in the Coloring Coven on Facebook and women constantly share. And we even have a few dudes who share how much Amy's book has been a joy for them in their life and how much they enjoy their time coloring. So here's my cover page. I mentioned yesterday, a lot of instability going on in terms of my environment and triggering my own PTSD with in the past situations with violent men. And I go in more in the story in the previous video if you want to know more. Anywho, so I needed to process that. I needed to process what in my roots, what is reacting. Process it by hanging out, talking to my husband about it a little. I do a throat chakra clearing exercise called Speaking My Truth, where I just riff on whatever it is that is feeling fearful and contracted and tight in my heart. And the thing is when your muscles are contracted in fear or tension or stress, we need to expand, and we can expand with the breath, but we can also expand with creativity. Our creativity as women flows out of our mouth, our hands, our genitals, and our feet. Anyone who loves dancing knows that's for sure. So I mentioned yesterday I wasn't too happy with my progress. I did something I'd never done before. I wanted to go with a dark, black, smoky background. And doing a black background is a lot of work. It's still not what I had visualized in my third eye. And there's, I put and when I don't like something, I add a lot of glitter. So, let's see. I'm picking up a lot of light there. So the candles aren't, I wanted them to be a darker red, but things were starting to get a little muddy. I do like how my dragonfly turned out. I just said fuck it, got out my blending tools. I love these blending alcohol pens. Awesome. I keep paper towels around and reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. And there's a blending pencil somewhere in here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Anywho, sorry for the shaking as I was looking away. I like the way my little locket turned out. Did the border. So I just go in and layer in. I add contrast last. Play with all the different mediums. One of the things I learned, I was working with the gel pens. Laid the gel pen down last. There's a name somewhere. Oh well. Oh, there we go. These are the gel pens. So what I've learned is I like using gel pens last. I tried reversing my order and using, instead of coloring pencils first, I use the gel pens first. And it gets muddy when you layer the crayon and coloring pencil over it. Whereas opposed, if you layer it on top of the coloring pencil and crayon, it tends to blend in nicer. I like the way my crystal turned out. And of course, like I said, I added just a whole bunch of glitter glue to just remind me that this is magic and that it's more about letting myself go. So the other thing is when we're healing and we need to restore chi, coloring restores chi because we are using movement. It engages all our senses. It again engages our eyes, the smells from the mediums and the material. There's the tactile sensation. So another thing is, for many years, I was a somatic body worker. So using my hands and getting into the page and using my fingers to swirl and smudge and blend is extremely satisfying for me because it hits my main sensory learning, which is kinesthetic. So moving pigment with my hands helps me move chi, and it helps me loosen up that tension, that chronic tension from the muscles, from clenching when I am triggered by my environment. And before, I used to try to push away the trigger and would feel embarrassed about the triggers. Now I realize that when something is triggered, it's very important to get that lymphatic flow going, get my chi going. And in terms of witchcraft, it's about releasing and then rebuilding that chi power, what we tend to do with the moon cycles. And as we know as women, our bodies, our systems are built on cycles. All right. As you can tell, this is a subject I love very much. I'm now ready to move on to my next page, my title page with the spoons, which I'm looking forward to because her spoons just speak to me. And then there's the tarot page and the book protection. And then full moon, I'm planning on doing the wolf moon page. All right. Glad you're enjoying the videos. Peace out. Mwah. Happy coloring.